This is the thing, right? So if there isn't at least a minimum of we'll say like 92 fucks, I won't even air the episode.
Well, let's get that fucking started.
All right. Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, I hope you enjoyed it and thanks so much for coming back. But for everyone out there who's new to the show, welcome. Feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer, soda, water, coffee, tea in the fridge. Cheers, my friend.
Yes.
Yes. It is a good day. It is a Wednesday, but if you're listening to this, chances are it is a Tuesday because that's when episodes come out. It really doesn't matter. I'm blabbing. Everybody, I'm joined today by a new friend, somebody that is really close with a lot of people that I'm close with, but one of those awkward situations in a music scene where you don't really cross paths with one person. Like somehow everything, like, you know, we're, you know, we're always.
I saw you walking down the street at Millville and because like I've watched the Normal Creatures music videos, you know, Jordan Boslin and Miles Mahoney were friends. And so I'm like, oh, I want to go. I'm like, want to run up to him. And I'm like, well, that's probably not a good idea. You haven't officially met him. Like, hey, Normal Creatures guy, Brian, what's up? And you're like, how do you know me? Like,
one thing, I want to get you a little centered. That looks great.
No problem.
And so if it hasn't already been said, everybody please make some noise for my new friend, Royce.
What's up, y'all?
I'm happy you're here. The people of the internet are happy that you're here. How you living?
You know, I'm living as well as living can be sometimes. You know, after post-pandemic and all those things, it's like trying to catch up and get back to like normal, but also realizing that there will never really be normal again.
Sure.
So how do you adjust to that?
Well, the thing that is, you know, maybe not everybody can relate with this, but for me, like living this like underground artist life, nothing was really ever normal.
Honest to
and you're
God,
always
bro.
kind of like, you know, doing some weird shit to figure out how you're gonna make the next thing happen.
Right.
So like, you know, a pandemic thrown in my lap for me, I was like, well, this is inconvenient, but life is very rarely convenient for an artist, right? So figured it out.
Right.
We were probably more equipped than some others, maybe.
I feel like we were like, you know, we those of us that are like, we've been on the grind. We promote our own shows. We put together our own shows. You know, we reach out to our audiences directly. I think that we were prepared for when you couldn't be out anymore. Because like I made a comment to my bandmate Dante Jordan, aka Dizzy, and yes, that was a drop. But I told him, I said, it's so funny to watch all these celebrities like cramming, like, oh no, this is our livelihood. I'm like, I've been playing to two people for 10 years, man. Like, you just learn how to just do it and fucking go, you know, and you adapt. So yeah, I'm blabbing now. So.
Hey, you know, it's a podcast. We blab away. If it hasn't been completely made obvious already, Royce is a musician / artist / human being on planet Earth doing the damn thing.
Yes.
Let's do like the quick kind of little Cliff's Notes of who and what Royce is.
Okay, so Royce, I am James Royce. I'm the front man of a rock band, like a rock fusion band. The genre of music we do is called Blackrock. We'll pin that and get back to it. Very interesting. I'm a singer, songwriter, producer. I have been in this project. I started this project in 2017. The artists that I've been working with now, who are Miles Mahoney on guitar, Jordan Boslin on drums, Dante Jordan, aka Dizzy, on vocals, Jasanta Lady J on vocals, Chris Volpini on bass, and Shaheem Dean on DJ. I've been working with this group for about 2.5 years. And I feel like we have all the components. We're gelling together to like really take the project to the next level. Yeah, so that's what I am. I'm also a human being. I'm an artist, filmmaker, do a little bit of visual arts, you know, just tried to be a Renaissance man.
Yeah, no, I feel as though in some ways you don't have to be, but life is so short. Why not be?
Right.
You know?
Why not be? Because we have all these opportunities to just do things and we choose not to because we're like, oh, well, we have this status quo. We have this. No, life is short. We don't know where it ends or where it begins or when the expiration date is. So live it to the fullest. If you're an artist and you like painting, throw some fucking paint on the canvas,
Yeah.
sell that shit for $3 million, whatever.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
just experiment and grow as a human being and as a person.
I think it's super important. So we put a pin in the term Blackrock, I believe.
Yes.
Let's dig into that. I'm curious.
So Blackrock, the pitch that I usually give people, Blackrock is a genre that is built to pay homage and pay respect to African American artists that have influenced American culture and the worldwide culture.
Yeah.
When I first started doing rock music in my teens, I got a lot of adversity from both black and white sides of my life. A lot of the white people were like, oh man, that's rock and roll, like Led Zeppelin and this and that, and not having knowledge and understanding. I didn't.
Not having knowledge that Jimmy Page pretty much ripped off every riff off of black artists.
Right. But they're telling me like, no, you can't do this. And then black people are like, yeah, that's white people music, and going along this road, but saying like, I love rock, I love blues, and finally getting old enough to do some research and learning about Muddy Waters, learning about Chuck Berry, learning about Little Richard, and getting into my history. And I said, why is it that we have such a divide with this genre of music? Mm-hmm. Why is it that when you talk about rock and roll, it's like it has to be under the guise of a white artist or a white label or a white producer?
That's the thing, is like the idea of black rock, like I understand where you're coming from, and it almost like pisses me off that you even need to say that.
Talk about it.
Because like rock is, at its core, that's what it comes from, right?
Does.
And the reason why you're getting why you get so much pushback, and like honestly, I've gotten pushback too, because like I do a very similar thing to you in terms of just like melding a bunch of genres together with my music.
The genre fusion.
It's like there are people that are like, oh, if you try to introduce, it's like, okay, like we took something, whitewashed it, and now if you're going to do anything that makes it less white, like we're not going to approve.
We're not going to approve it.
And it's really, really corny.
It's corny as fuck because, the essence of black culture as it has derived through like sorry, I'm about to use a lot of, but as it's derived through the African diaspora of us is very inclusive. From religion, from community. Like we are not a group of people that generally are like, no, you can't have. I think that over years we have become more and more kind of aggressive in it, because anytime that we do have something, they take it and they whitewash it, and then we don't get the credit for it. And it's not even so much do we want the credit, or should I say, from my opinion, I don't want to say like, oh, only black people can do rock and roll. I just want to be involved in the conversation. I want to be able to say like, yeah, I love Jimmy Page and I love Van Halen, but I also love Jimi Hendrix and Muddy Waters. And why do we continue to say like, oh, well, those are different? They're not different.
And like, why is it when there's like, like you'll get situations where it's like, oh, like that band's really cool. Did you see they got like a black guitar player? Or like, oh, did you see that band? They got a girl singer. Like,
right. Did you see the girl drummer?
What's the big fucking deal?
Exactly.
We're all humans.
We
all like music. And like, I think so much of it too is like everybody gets fixated on this genre thing, but so much of it is attitude. Yes. Like when I was a kid, to me, hip hop was no different than rock because it all had a similar attitude. It felt the same.
Yes.
There's so much of hip hop that feels rock and roll.
And there's so much of rock and roll that feels like hip hop.
Yeah. Or like punk rock or anything. It's all about like the essence of it and like what it is built on. Mm-hmm. And it's so weird when down the line it gets corporatized and becomes this thing where it's like, oh, now like I can go buy a Sex Pistols iPhone case at fucking Best Buy. What is happening here? It's so weird.
It's fucking weird, man.
I feel like we're like missing the point somehow.
I feel like we're missing the point, and that's why focusing on like this genre and it wasn't really the name of the genre came out of just the fact that like I'm spiting the fact that I have to tell people that black people can do rock and roll too. My first EP was labeled Blackrock, and the genres on it were more like neo soul and R&B, and we had some rock in there and some blues. And then as I was just growing with the sound, I said, I've always loved hip hop. I've always loved rock and roll. I've always loved trap music and drill and R&B and soul. Why can't I just fuse them all?
Sure.
And that's where I was like, okay, that's what Blackrock is. Blackrock is the fusion of African-American culture so that we can at least say, or at least I can say, I had a part of it.
Yeah.
Of like expressing all of myself and not allowing society or labels, because that's really what it was. These conversations with labels, and they look at you and they say, well, I don't know what to do with a black-led rock band.
Sure.
Or venues say, well, people aren't going to show up to hear black people play rock music. Like venues here in Pittsburgh saying that shit. And I'm like, really? Have you not heard of Afropunk? Have you not heard of a band called Death? Have you not heard of In Living Color? All these groups that have done it before and their success in it, if you like tap the right target,
Sure.
But they don't want to try. They don't want to do the legwork because rock music is in this space.
Yeah, I think that it's really, really hard when you have this huge disconnect, if we want to get into like the conversation about venues, like where so many people that run venues don't understand the music side of things or know anything, right? So if you're lucky, they get some sort of a talent buyer or someone that is like a promoter that will book shows for them and help curate shows there.
Yeah.
But it's very rare that people that curate shows curate outside of their friend group.
Yes.
So then you create these weird insular bubbles. And like, I don't think that's always a thing that is meant to be malicious, because sometimes too, like if you're a promoter and like say like the only people that you know are like Back Alley Sound and the Bleepy Things and Royce, like if those are the people you know, those are the people you're going to book. You know, they're reliable and they're going to come through.
Exactly.
And it takes a lot of time and effort though to like take chances on other bands and start to build out, because on the flip side of things, there are a lot of bands that you might take a chance on, you're going to get burned.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of local talents that are just, I mean,
they just don't show up.
The only thing they're talented at is being unreliable.
Right.
That's really about it, right? So it's a big web of shit to really dig through. But in terms of like finding people to take a chance on you as an artist, that's like really the hardest thing, unless you're doing something that like fits a specific mold. And again, I've dealt with that since the start of doing Normal Creatures, and back when we were going under Sykes and a New Violence, and even back when before that, when I was just Sykes, I was just a rapper with an iPod. It was like what is this? You know what I mean? Like
what are you doing?
Yeah, sure. It's like nobody wants to see me at rap shows, because like, keep in mind, this would have been like, 2008, 9. And like, I'm like rolling around on the ground, screaming on top of beats. I was like a decade ahead of my time, because now I could probably do well now. And I'm happy. I'm not bitter about that. I'm like, I think that's great that like overall people that listen to music have become a lot more welcoming of that like melting pot of genres.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, venues do have a hard time catching up, and it's really hard for them to take a chance, because really all it takes is for that venue to have been burned one time by some weirdo that they didn't know. And the next time that they get hit up by a weirdo they don't know, like you, they're like, I don't know. I think that we're just going to go with, the fucking
the ones we know,
the tribute band again, the cover band again,
the cover band. No, I get that, and I just I feel like part of it, it all works together, because if you have artists that aren't showing up and not doing what they're doing and not respecting the craft and the art, then you have venues that are like, well, I'm not going to take the chance and the risk, because we have to start to work together.
Yeah, I think
and to find unity in it, and to really. For me, it's about just getting back to what art and music is about. Like you talking about when you were starting out, rapping and everything. When I first started out, I was a Christian rapper, so I didn't say fuck, but I used to rap over techno beats, and I was a part of the new metal scene.
Okay.
And it was still even more restrictive, because it's a Christian space, and I'm going to churches and they're expecting, Chris Tomlin. And here I show up and I'm like, no, I'm a rapper. Oh, it's a rapper. Okay. And then I get up there and I do my thing. And I would have people walk up to me and be like, wow, even though I was not expecting that, or I didn't know what to expect. Thank you for speaking to me and touching something in my life. And that's really what it's about, is being able to touch lives.
Totally.
To be able to change and to create change. You know, we want to see the diversity back. When hip hop started in the 80s, you had punk kids and rappers and black kids from the ghettos and Hispanic kids from the ghettos that got together and they just built together.
Sure.
You know, I want it to be more about that. So that's kind of my goal and focus.
Yes. It's just a matter of getting like venues or promoters and people that don't know you to take that chance. And it could be hard, but there's always somebody.
Yeah.
And I think that a big part of this kind of leans into the whole like social media and branding conversation where I start to feel a little sticky and gross. It's like funny because like, you know, I have a podcast and I'm very much a person that is online a good bit, but there are a lot of things about it that I don't always feel so great about participating in.
Yeah.
But sometimes in order for a venue to take a chance on you, it's like, well, you know, you got to have the right numbers and the right look and good footage of you playing shows, like proof of concept, receipts, if you will. You have to have those things.
Right. And that's why for me going the more independent artist route, you know, I've been doing music for, I guess, since I was 13 years old. And in that time I was a solo rapper, and then I was in a band with my brothers, and then I started Royce. And in that time, I just tried to learn everything that I could, because sometimes it is about putting the legwork in. A lot of even Blackrock as a genre, I intentionally did things so it would catch people's ears. If the venues aren't going to give me a chance because I'm different and I'm strange, or, you know, it goes against the grain, then I'm going to give you quality music, quality visuals, quality photos that show you I'm serious. I'm not. I'm not playing games, you know. And as an artist and taking that as serious, you start to understand the business more. You start to understand, well, damn, that's why they didn't want me when I was 16. I'd have been a fucking problem.
Sure.
You know, I didn't know what was going on, you know.
It takes time. I think that a lot of people don't realize how much time it takes, and sometimes it can seem like something happened out of nowhere.
But
I bring this example up a lot, so I apologize for frequent listeners of the podcast that have heard me blab about this before. But an example that I always like to bring up when talking about this is Billie Eilish, because for so many people, it's like, oh, who is this girl? She came out of nowhere. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, yeah, sure. She's 19 years old now. But you do realize that her and her brother have been recording music in a bedroom for the past decade, probably.
Right.
Like they grew up together recording songs. This didn't just happen out of nowhere.
Right.
Sure, she's just getting popular now. But I had people sending me Billie Eilish stuff like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, she recorded songs and did things before.
Yeah, it's
never overnight. It's never an overnight success.
Yeah,
you know?
It's a lot of work.
It is. You know, it's either a lot of work or a lot of money.
Sure.
You know?
Or a lot of both, bro.
Or a lot of both, you know. But yeah,
that's the other thing that I was gonna say too, is like in terms of getting some people to take you seriously, sometimes it's like, you know, sure, maybe you have, you know, decent online numbers and stuff that looks good, but sometimes it's just like, look, I wanna rent out this space.
Yep.
How much do you want?
Yep.
And you can establish a good relationship sometimes with the venue based off of that. And then maybe if the show goes well and they know you, it might help out down the line. You have to like be willing to invest sometimes. I think that sometimes, and I understand as an independent artist, like when you start talking about monetary things, how it's really easy to kind of get scared by that because none of us really have a ton of money to just throw around or take chances with, you know.
Right.
But in order to get past a certain point, it has to enter the conversation.
Right.
You're not going to be able to, you know, break a certain part of the ceiling without having a certain amount of money behind you. It's just impossible.
It's right. And so even in having that understanding, it's like getting into the business of it. Like, yeah, sometimes it is get your friends together, get that venue, put on a really good show, be mindful when, you know, I love putting on and promoting my own shows. I felt like if I was going to get noticed in Pittsburgh, it'd be by, oh yeah, the guy that's got a really good band and puts on great shows.
Sure.
You know, I've been putting on shows since 2017. I've done them at YMCA. I've done them on rooftops. I did a pool party last year. Yeah, 2020. And it's like each time those numbers grow, but it's like each time I learn and I understand a different aspect of it. And I understand the information I need when I go sit down with a venue. Oh yeah, I put on these shows and I was able to get 150 people here. Yeah. You know, that means something because the first question they ask is, well, what's your draw? And a lot of artists don't think about what their draw is because if you're doing a festival, you're automatically playing for 200-300 people because they're coming to the festival.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know how many people you're actually drawing. So thinking about that, how much money it costs to rent equipment, you know, whether you have the right equipment, mics, in-ears, all these different aspects that when you get to that certain level, you're like, oh, wow, that's there. But if you don't have that information, it's like, I don't know. I love to just be a part of all of it.
No, I think that it's really important to be in a position where, and I always advocate for bands to be their own promoters. Like there's really no reason to get somebody else involved unless it's like a huge show that somebody's inviting you on, or of course if you're playing out of town, like there needs to be some connection. But like I can't tell you how many times we've gotten emails, and this isn't an ego thing, it's just really a practicality thing, of people that would hit us up, be like, yo, do you want to play this show at like the Smiling Moose, you know, and you know, if all the bands sell this many tickets and all this stuff, it's like, dog, if I wanted to play at the Smiling Moose, I would just fucking call the Smiling Moose. Like, I don't need you to play at the Smiling Moose.
Right.
Like,
you're going to book me for
offering
something.
us?
Book me for something that's out of my reach.
Yeah.
You know, don't book me for things like, know the artist and know, like, you've been in the game for a minute. You know, you have information understanding. If someone's reaching out to you, they need to do the research so that they know, like, oh, yeah, this guy can get the Smiling Moose. He's looking for something else.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that, you know, and it, you know, I'm definitely the type of person where, like, if anybody hits me up for a show, like a promoter, immediately I'm like, who the fuck is this?
Right.
It's probably in the same way that like they might look at a band.
Right.
And I don't know if sometimes promoters realize that there are people that are looking at you the same way that you're looking at us.
Because I don't trust them. I don't trust those motherfuckers. I get an email. I'm like, here these motherfuckers go again on some ticket shit, on some, you know, oh, sell these many tickets. Then I'm pushing this show and I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do that. And then you cancel on me last minute.
Yeah.
Nah.
You
get burned by a couple of those. Then you're like,
the ticket thing, you know, I have some different takes on it. I think that for like an all local sort of showcase thing, if you need your artist to sell tickets, you're not a good promoter.
Right.
Hands down.
I always feel like
if you curate the right lineup in the right location with the right vibe and energy around the event, it will sell itself. You don't need to force bands to sell tickets.
You don't. But let me ask you this. What's your take on venues reaching out to an artist and saying, listen, here's a base price, and then you get whatever in ticket on top, like a percentage of the ticket? Like if someone reached out to you and was like, here is base price $350 for you to come out. If you sell 25 tickets, you get $5 of the ticket or something. Like base price, like they're paying you or you're paying. Okay. They're paying you. Like, because I've always felt like if you're asking me to come out, you know, depending on the level of artist you are, because we all know you got those dues that you have to pay because you got to learn how to be a performer. But I always feel like if a promoter's reaching out to me, they should be reaching out to me to put money in my pocket first.
Sure.
Because if I was reaching out to them, they'd be wanting me to put money in their pocket.
Yeah. You know, I've been on both sides of this because I remember being like a younger artist, and like there's like, you know, like there's bigger promotional companies like your, you know, I'm not even going to say anything bad, so I can say Drusky Entertainment and
I like Drusky,
you know, and it's like, you know, for their shows, I can almost understand that, like, you know, when they have artists, you know, sell tickets to open up for those shows, I think it's more of like we just want to make sure we have somebody that's taking this seriously.
Right.
You know, on the show. We don't want just anybody playing.
It's almost like
show.
weeding out the weaklings.
And I think too, it's good, for me anyways, it was really good exercise and starting to like take things a little bit more seriously and putting some accountability on the event. Because the thing is like, you know, whenever you're selling tickets for those shows, they're like, we'll give you $1, $2, $3 from each of the tickets, right?
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity to make some money. It gets you outside of yourself. You have to start, like, you only have so many friends you can ask. So you can start reaching out to strangers online, saying that you have tickets, meeting up with people. You're creating networking, and like, you know, it's a good exercise in like forcing yourself to maybe promote the band and the show harder than you would otherwise.
Right.
You know,
because I feel like social media is making people lazy when it comes to promoting. Like, people feel like if, you know, I'll be honest, even myself, I'm getting ready for this show. I'm putting in rehearsals. I'm taking the music serious, but I don't necessarily have the time to post 6-7 times a week.
Yeah, I think that's fucking crazy.
You know, like, I'm not a fucking mental you know, like, yeah, I've got mental issues, but like, I'm not that mental, brother. Like, so being on my phone and post, it's like, no, you're going to get 1 or 2 shares out of me, and then 1 or 2 the day before, because that's what I can afford to do.
Yeah.
But I'm coming in and I'm going to fucking show out.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, honestly, with, you know, my bands, like, you know, I've been on both sides of this. I've been the type of person that had a very strict social media schedule because I thought that it would help or affect things, you know, like help grow. And I have seen no difference between posting every day of the week and posting once a week.
What I've noticed is, I'm sorry.
The only difference is that, like, I'm less happy.
Right.
That's it.
And that's why, like, even we were talking before we started recording, trying to strategically set social media to reflect my life. Because you have to think about it. If you're looking at social media, you're looking at Facebook, right? Facebook is your friends. You don't want to bombard and beat your friends over the head with your stuff. You want them to like it, maybe share, maybe follow, but you want them to be able to grow with your art. To me, Instagram is the people that don't know you, because your post can show up on somebody's wall. Someone can share it. There's so much more accessibility to your content on Instagram. So when I post on Facebook, I'll post something, an encouraging word or about a show, and try to play that towards my Facebook friends, because they're going to like that. You know, oh, well, they don't want me out here like, yeah, motherfuckers, come out to this show. We're going to be like piss drunk. Wah! They're going to be like, come on, Royce. You know,
sure.
I've got, you know, I've still got the church grandmas. I've still got them on my timeline. So I've got to be, you know, but on Instagram, I can be a little bit more free because it's a, you know, more of a busy street. So the louder you scream, the more colorful you are, the more you'll get noticed.
Sure. I think that there is a way that this isn't like some fucking, you know,
I'm trying to get to that 92.
This isn't some
fucking thing.
This isn't some like hidden secret or anything, right? This is just how I do things, and it might help you. It might help somebody that's listening, right?
Dropping knowledge.
So in terms of me and social media, I think that it's fine to post on every app with your band once a week. And I think that's all you need to do. Now, the interesting thing about this is that there is some caveats to it, because one, I think Instagram is actually 3 apps, because I think people that look at the feed aren't always the same as people that only look at stories, aren't always the same as people that look at reels,
aren't always the same as people that look at the discovery.
So you really got 3 or 4 different apps in Instagram.
Right.
So that's the only caveat in this. But I will post like, say like Monday's Facebook day, Tuesday, Instagram feed, then the next day, a story. Like that's how I just spread it out throughout the week. And the reason why I do that is because a big percentage, let's put it this way, let's rewind. I think a big part of the reason why people feel that they need to constantly post is they want to make sure that everybody sees what they're trying to post, or that people are reminded.
Right.
But a big chunk of people that follow you on Facebook also probably follow you on Instagram or on Twitter and things like that. So you could post 7 times on Facebook, or you could post once on Facebook, once on Instagram, once on Twitter, and chances are that same person's still going to see all 3 posts on 3 different days.
Right.
And they're not going to feel like you're posting on Facebook all the time because they're seeing it in different places.
Yeah, and I've also tried to even like do different pictures. Like I posted something, it was like Monday Motivation a couple of weeks ago. And I posted like a picture for Facebook, and I did a different one for Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, just because toying around with it, you know,
Sure.
trying to, at least for me, trying to find the art in social media and how I can, because I feel like there is an art aspect to it.
Definitely.
You know,
I think it's about keeping people's interest. And I think that there are some people who genuinely can post multiple times a week on the internet. And it's successful because they actually have something to say. They have something of value to share with the world. And there's going to be weeks that are busier as an artist where maybe you have a lot going on and there's a lot of cool shit to share. Right. Share away. But if you're ever just fucking sitting there staring at your phone, like, oh man, what am I going to post? I have to post something? Put it down. You don't have to post shit. Because chances are, if you just post some nonsense, it's going to be worse.
Right.
Like, there are big artists that I follow that I have like unfollowed or unsubscribed from on YouTube just because they post too much. I'm like, this is overwhelming. I just cannot handle the amount of information that you're putting at me. Right. And I would just rather check in with you later down the line when I think about you.
Right.
Because like that's the other thing too is sometimes as an independent artist, you have this like hunger in you to always make sure that you're being seen and to make sure that people are acknowledging what you're doing and you're not getting missed, right? Mm-hmm. But like my favorite fucking artists and people in the world, even like my favorite local artists, I'm not even going to put it on like a grand scale. I'm not listening to their music every day. I'm not checking in with them on Instagram every day. No. But I could be like, yeah, I fucking love the Back Alley Sound dudes. Or like, yeah, I love Ed Hockley. That's a Pittsburgh deep cut. Or
Jake Dahl.
Or like I love like, you know, there's so many local artists that I appreciate. And I don't need them to be I don't know when the fucking last time Back Alley Sound posted was. It was probably recently, but I didn't fucking see it. But I still love them. You know, it's like people don't need
I know that was hypothetical, but I'm like, damn, I don't know either. And 2 of them motherfuckers is in my band.
It really doesn't matter. It's just like, you know, you make an impact on people that is positive, it's going to stick with them. You don't need to reinforce it daily with fabricated social media posts.
And that's like for me, like I'm not really super big on like I'm really, really bad because I'm on to the next kind of person. You know, I do the work, I put in the time. Like, June of this year, we released a music video called Devil in the Blue Dress. Yeah. And I posted it a couple of times. I use it for a couple of promotional things, but I'm not posting it all the time because I know that like in this industry, you get a good 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
When something first comes out, you get a good 2 weeks. Yeah. Then 6 months after that, it might become a classic. But like, if you're continually posting the same fucking video that you've done,
it can't be coming from you too. That's the thing. I think a lot. It's like if in order for like people to really take you seriously, it needs to come from someone else. Exactly.
But the thing that I do in my favor is that I'm such a private person, and a lot of the people that follow me, they are actual supporters. Yeah. Like, they're like, yeah, we're actual fans of yours. So they're like, when are you gonna tell us what you're doing? Like I've had shows, and they're like, I didn't even know you had a show that day, and I was like, because I don't tell people. I'm horrible. So, but it builds that interest of. But I want to know when you're playing. Yeah. I liked that show. Tell me when you're playing. It's like, damn, you didn't tell me the last 3 times. I'm definitely coming this 4th.
Yeah. I think that there is... So this is something really psycho that I used to do. I don't recommend anybody doing this, but it is an idea if you want to try it out. So for about a year, right, I started tracking who interacted with my social media posts, and I made an Excel spreadsheet. And every week I would go back through and check and be like, oh, that person liked my post again, and get a tally. And then you could organize it by tallies. And that's how I started to figure out who was fucking with my shit the most and who wasn't. And then when I had shows or like I was putting out something, I would just message those people. I wasn't like, hey, I've been keeping up and I know that you're liking my stuff. Just like, hey, you know, I know that you support my shit. I'm about to drop this music video. Do you want to help me share it?
But I think that, I mean, doing that consistently, yeah, that's a lot. But you know, I mean, it's to each their own, but that's a great strategy for like working on an album. Okay, I'm working on this album. 6 months I'm working on it. I'm going to start to keep a tally of people who are following me so I can reach out to them and be like, yo, I see you fuck with my shit. Just want to let you know this is coming up. Because what is also becoming more and more a part of this music industry and this artist industry is that people want to know the artists.
Yeah.
They actually want to feel like they're connected with you. Like, they don't want to be best buddies, you know, because they like the persona, you know, not even the persona, but they like you at face value, you know, like, if any of the people that like I played with or like, you know, came to my show, if they hung around me all the time, they'd probably be like, damn, bro, you're annoying as hell. Like, you watch cartoons like all the fucking time. You playing video games, you know, like you're busy as hell. Like, damn, like you're kind of fucking boring.
Sure.
But to be connected to the music and the artist that is giving them these feels and this emotion, they do want to be connected to that in some way.
Yeah.
So being able to reach out and say like, yo, it would really mean a lot to me if you came to this show. I see that you're fucking with my shit. You know, I think that that's a great strategy. You know,
yeah,
I'm gonna have to talk that one, you know, for some of those sleepless nights.
Do it. I know. I think that, you know, over the past couple years, I've been a little not so good with being that kind of a person in terms of like keeping up with who is like into my stuff and like personally inviting people out to gigs. Granted, 2020, there wasn't much opportunity.
Right.
But, you know, coming out of that, I'm starting to like just kind of get back on the ball because like it's almost a weird sort of thing where like the first few shows that we played, I almost like didn't want everybody there. You know,
I know that feeling.
Shaking the dust off of it.
Right. Like, you know like, we're just getting back into this
maybe
thing.
Don't come out to this one, you know, but that's the funny thing too, is because you can practice all you fucking want. There's no way to
anticipate
being on a stage.
No, there's
in the
not.
moment.
In the moment, you know, like we try to do that as well when we rehearse, you know, trying to practice. I practice what I'm going to say, you know, and how we're going to do transitions. But that energy, you cannot anticipate it. You can't anticipate, you know, whether you're going to be in front of a lot of people and they're going to vibe with it and they're going to be bouncing up and down. That's going to change your fucking game. Versus like you're in there and you don't have a very large crowd or people aren't fucking with you and you're just like, oh man, I'm putting all this into it. And they're like, what can I do to turn the key? What can I do to turn the tide to get the anticipated result that I'm looking for? So like, yeah, that's the shit that I really do like love and talk. Like, I don't know if you have like a road we're going down. We're just
cruising.
So when I first started doing music, like I said, I was 13 years old. My father got me into music. I wanted to be a singer. I could not sing at the time. And so I became a rapper. He used to write poetry and I would, you know, recite his words. And he's like, wow, you really have something. And then he was like, well, if you're going to be a performer, we're going to start really getting you trained and prepared. So I would rehearse 3 times a week in my basement. I had this board that had faces written on it. Some were smiling, some were sad faces. Okay. Just to try to like anticipate like the audience, you know, because I was doing new metal, you know, so I didn't really anticipate having a very happy audience all the time. You know, I'm up there and they're like, oh, wow. Like, because everyone, they look at you at face value and they're like, we're going to get this. And I'm like, rah, 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 rah. And they're like, what is this?
Sure.
You know, but running on the treadmill and just really getting into the mindset of being a performer, because it's a different level than just being like a musician or an artist. You have to learn how to engage with your audience. So I try to treat every show like it's a bar, you know, like a small pub. I try to just pay attention to the 3 to 4 people that are right here, maybe 10 people that are right here, and talk to them.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to reach anyone, I'm going to reach you, and you're going to feel what I'm talking about, and you're going to feel what I'm saying. You know, I love to reach out and talk to people that are just chilling in the back, not doing anything. People make funny faces. I say, I see that, you know, like, because that's the impact that I love. You know, it's a give and take when you're on that stage.
Yeah, I think that crowd participation, crowd interaction, and just, you know, understanding that, you know, there's a certain level of empathy that you have to have with the room it's going to make the event so much better. Like people aren't taking time out of their day to watch you have a band practice.
Right.
Give them a show.
Give them a show.
Entertain.
Cry.
Do the whole thing.
Bleed.
Yeah.
Roll.
That's the thing. That's the thing that like really makes people connect, because it's like, what is fundamentally different between like, you know, an artist that's playing like some of like the, you know, like the talent that we might have that would like play like main stage at Deutschtown. What's the difference between some of those artists and like an artist that is at like Console Energy Center playing like, you know, in front of, you know, tens of thousands of people? What's the difference? They're both human. They're both musicians. They probably both have great songs, right? There really is not much of a difference between those two.
Right.
It's just a matter of, you know,
who's putting on the show, who's putting on the
selling
show, it,
and the connection that how many people they have a connection to.
Right.
Right. But if you go between sometimes like, what's the difference between somebody that is, you know, that was asked to play Deutschtown versus somebody that has they don't even want them to play in like one of the shit rooms that they have bands playing, right?
Right.
Lack of connect, like you can't even like
connect
with the people to like be recognized as like somebody that is somewhat entertaining enough to like be put on a stage.
Right, because a nice face and a good smile is not going to impact people.
You know, I think that it's really just about like connecting with people on a level that people outside of, you know, your bubble are going to acknowledge like, holy shit. Because usually no matter what, any show you go to, even if there's only, it's probably even higher if you go to a show and there's only 3 fucking people there. I guarantee you 1 or 2 of those people shouldn't be there. They have one friend that wanted to be there, and they brought those other 2 people
with them.
Yeah, exactly. So there's always people in a room that aren't supposed to be there, or at least don't want to be there, right?
Right.
Those
you got to prove them motherfuckers that they want to be there.
Those are the people that you have to impress, because those are the one motherfucker already knows,
right?
Which is cool. Thank you, motherfucker, for knowing. But the other 2.
Appreciate you, motherfucker.
You gotta get them, because they're gonna like, holy shit, like, you know, I went to this show with fucking Jeff, and you know, I thought it was gonna be a bunch of bullshit, and it was great. And I think that, you know, this kind of goes back to the like Drusky Entertainment and bands opening up for bigger bands, and sometimes I see a problem in the sense of a lot of times I feel that they don't always vet out the bands that are playing. Like, oh, you agree to sell this many tickets. It doesn't really matter if you're not good.
Right.
As long as you sell the tickets, you can open up for this band.
Right.
And that creates a problem for me, because a lot of people that are going to that show aren't people that go to local music shows often.
No.
So the opening band, they are the representation
of the show,
Pittsburgh's local music scene as a whole. And if they suck,
we suck.
Local music sucks.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes me mad about that like upsets me is like, as a promoter, I can understand maybe not having the time to do research to get a band that's good, but there's so many good local bands that this could actually become profitable for you, where if you can find the talent that is good and get them on the stage, you could start doing local shows on the venues off nights that people are actually going to come to, because you know the bands that are good.
Right. I mean, and that's one of those things that, you know, not to hype, but like we pride ourselves on being able to put on great shows, you know, with the energy from Boslin, from Miles, from Dizzy, from Jay, like all of the different components, because it's what I love about Royce and this project is that we're not a monolith. You know, we are not just one singular thing. Lady J, she sings great R&B, gospel, soul, did off-Broadway 2 years. You know, Dante Jordan, he's opened up for stellar, amazing artists, you know, Migos and artists like that. Like, he brings that to the table. Miles, you know, Boslin, you know, Chris Volpini, like all of that energy. We're literally like a team put together that's designed to fucking kill and slay, because we're focused on the fact that we have to touch people. Yeah. We already know that we're somewhat behind the 8 ball because we do a different genre of music. We're part of the weirdo category. We're claiming Blackrock, somewhat political.
That's only an issue for the venues. It's not an issue for people.
And that's what it's so hard to get through the venue's heads. Like,
yeah, that's
but
the issue. The issue, it becomes an issue when you realize that your access to the people is the venue, and there's like an opportunity. Like say like I don't know how often like you try to like open up for like if you do any of that sort of shit, like opening up for bigger bands and the
we do some of that, yeah.
Because like
I feel like you have to. It's relationship to this point. Like I'm sorry to cut you off, but like working with Drusky, we've built relationships with those that are there that will actually reach out to us and say, "Hey, we have this person. I'm putting your name in the ring because we actually fuck with you." Yeah. So at that point, it's a relationship, knowing that Drusky does do a lot better business than some of these other promotion companies that want you to do ticketing. They actually have a care, and you have a connection with those that are involved. Yeah. I think that, it's huge. And the whole reason I was like asking is because I know it's definitely more common, I think, for the bands that I feel are like the most talented in the city to be the type of people to avoid those things. Like they don't want to deal with it. They more or less just promote their own shows, which I get, but it's really hard to expand unless you're playing. I mean, if you're touring and shit like that, that's a completely different story. Thing, right? But if you're trying to just like, if you're only, just focused on trying to build a local community, because like I really don't even see much of a point in even trying to tour unless you have some sort of a local fan base that's going to be willing to support you. Because you need to have somebody to have your back. So when people are like, who the fuck is this? They're not going to ask you. They're going to ask the city. Right. That's good. Yo, Pittsburgh, who the fuck is this motherfucker? That's what they're going to ask, right? So, I don't know, but it's weird. I think that it's so weird. There's a lot of nuance in terms of what is a good thing to do for your band, what is a bad thing to do for your band. Everybody has different opinions, especially with the ticketing thing. It's a whole can of worms. It's just like whatever feels good to you, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm willing to take advantage of any opportunity that you're leaving on the table. So rock and roll. If you don't want to play that show, I will. Yeah, for me, I think that, it's not even so much about like not taking those shows, because like we have Lady J is also the band manager, and she's great. She's great because whereas I can do these things and talk to you, I am horrible with having conversations with those promoters and the business people, because I'm a scatterbrain artist and don't always know how to say this is what this is. Yeah. Because I know that you really don't give a shit. You do, but like I have 30 seconds to pitch you on whether or not you're going to hire me. I need someone that's got a way better way of doing that and pitching it in your language, because I'm going to give you artist language, which is going to take 10 minutes. But like she reaches out and like she connects with venues, she connects with promoters, she'll ask like, well, what do you guys think about this show? As a band, we often vet these things because we've had the experience of being, going through so many of these trials. So usually it's like, okay, we don't really want to do this ticketed thing, but we haven't had a show in about 4 weeks. It would be a good thing to like continue to get our name out there, because people know us for our good shows, for our high energy shows. It's also like, I don't turn nothing down with my collar, because you never know when your opportunity is going to come. I've got 4 or 5 different poles in the water at any time. Sure. Because you could be like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. And a week later, the person that did do it, that may not be at your quality. I'm like, God damn it, I should have been there. I should have done that, Yeah. But we've also been very blessed. We coming out of the pandemic, we were able to get a lot of the festivals. We did Millville. Yeah. We played Mr. Smalls, and that was great. It was the first time that we had done Mr. Smalls as Royce. I've done Mr. Smalls for the PVOs, playing with other artists. And I think Miles and Boslin have done Mr. Smalls, but as Royce, it was like a real staple for us. The other thing that I was going to say is, for me, it's also like just band politics are so important, because there's going to be bullshit, and you can allow the bullshit to upset you. You can, and I'm going to, because fuck this guy, I'm going to tell you a story. Okay. All right. We're going to story time. Cool. So we did Mr. Smalls, and we had a great summer. We put out music videos. We're working on the album, and we got asked to open up for this band called Animal Sun.
Okay.
And they're on tour, and they're from LA, and we drive 50 minutes, we get to Katanning, and these guys are just like so up in arms about the fact that like there's no one showing up and other bands sold more tickets than them. And it's just like, dude, you're being such an ass. Your bandmates are literally complaining about you. You know, you're not helping yourself. You don't have the proper attitude because you feel like every fucking show should be the highlight. You have to understand that when you have those fucked up shows, your band is what have your back. When you're playing to 2, 3, 4 people, your crew has your back. You can't shit on them and then shit on them in front of an audience or, you know, in front of other bands. So for me, it's just making sure that as a band leader, I'm able to take suggestions, listen, pay attention, use the knowledge that is in the room with me.
Yeah.
Because that will help us get further quicker.
Yeah.
Without going through the bullshit, you know?
I remember I saw there was this band, they're like, I think they're another band that's from like air quote LA. I don't know how many bands from LA are actually from LA. I'm not too sure, but I think they're a California based band. But it's like this 3-piece punk trio called the Coat Hangers.
Okay.
Really cool band, fun punk, you know, kind of garage punky stuff, real bratty. They played at Roboto, which at the time felt like it was kind of a small venue for them to be playing because they're not a huge band, but they're not exactly a Roboto band. Like, you know, I could see them playing like downstairs at Spirit or somewhere that was a little bigger, that was a little bit more of like a real venue. Nothing against Roboto, but I think that
I've played Roboto. It's one of those spots.
I don't feel like it's the best. It's not necessarily accommodating for, you know, a band from the West Coast that's touring full time and probably used to playing rooms that are 3 or 4 times that size. You know, so I could totally get why they were maybe in a bad mood. But during the set, they were kind of like berating the sound tech, and it seemed like they were like not happy being there and like not taking it very seriously. And it was like, okay, I totally get that this room's a lot smaller than probably what you're used to playing. And I get that, you know, the sound in this room isn't perfect. It's a DIY space, right?
Right.
But this room's full of people right now, and everybody's watching you be the way that you're being. I haven't listened to that band since that show.
Damn.
I can't.
Right.
Because like, anytime I think about that band, I just think about like the attitudes. I have empathy for where they were coming from,
but still,
but keep it inside.
Right.
There's a room full of people that taking time out of their day to come watch you play.
Right. Give them a fucking show.
Like, you know, give them a show. Have some fun. If you have issues, whatever. I'm sure it's not the worst show that you've ever played as a band, and it's not the last show like that you're ever going to play.
And that's like I said, that's why it's so important just to make sure like that you have your shit together in terms of understanding why you do it. Why do you do music? Why do you perform? Why do you get up there in front of people? Whatever reason that you have to do that, you know, if you're doing it for fame, then keep your shit together so you can keep your fame together. Because if you're out there, like, let somebody go and say like, oh yeah, I went and saw them in Pittsburgh and they're complete and total assholes. You're like, that's not cool. That's hurting your brand.
Yeah, and I totally, and I have empathy for it because I've been like a total motherfucker on stage. You know, like I've yelled at sound techs when they didn't deserve it. I've been rude to other people on my band. Like I've thrown temper tantrums on stage, and it's incredibly embarrassing. And I feel like a total dum-dum for doing it. And I'm sure people that were in the room at that time were very much like, well, fuck this guy. So it's like, I totally get like both. It's like, I've been in both positions,
right.
You know, like I'm not fucking flawless. Right. But like, you know, I think that's having that experience of being somebody that has made mistake like that. It's like, okay, well, what can I learn from this? Like, why did this mistake happen?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it actually the venue? Is it just me? Or am I just like playing a place that I shouldn't be playing? Because it's like, okay, you know, back to the whole coat hangers thing. It's like, you didn't have to play that show. You could have looked at it's not
You
hard.
could have looked at
It's not
venue.
hard to go on YouTube and see what that venue is
Right.
if you're not certain about something.
Right.
Right. But whatever.
But I think it's about artists doing your research too. Like I'm
or
really
tour managers. I
Or
mean,
tour
if you're on
managers-
that level, they're not booking their own shows. They have somebody that.
But it's like, I don't know. I would like to say that because the devil is a lie. When we get to that level, I'd like to hope that there's still that innocence in me that still wants to like go up and look like who's opening, like who am I playing on stage with?
Sure.
What's the venue like?
always.
Because
Yeah.
it's so important for me because like music and art, it's like a spiritual thing. Like when I'm getting into that moment, I'm getting into that Zen moment. I treat it like it's a spiritual thing, but I also treat it like it's a sports thing. I got to know the arena that I'm going into.
Absolutely.
I've got to know my players,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anytime, especially when we're playing out of town, I always will look up the other bands. I will always try to look and like go on YouTube and see what this venue looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Go on their website. What other events
have you done?
Like what is this place? What are we walking into?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I will go on Google Maps Street View. What is
God.
around this place? Is it like in the middle of nowhere?
Right.
Or is it on like a busy street? Like
Right.
what is the vibe of like what's going into
Because
this?
you want to know that you as an artist and not to get on like a Kanye rant.
Oh God.
No, I mean, but
4 hours later.
exactly. But as an artist, you start to understand that you have moments where you create. It's a beautiful thing when you can sing a song that means something to you that you wrote, and you can look in the eyes of the audience and you've connected with them.
Yeah.
You've created that emotion. Everyone felt some different way when they walked in, but for the 45, 35, 15 minutes that you had, you gave them a roller coaster of emotions and experiences.
Yeah.
So having that mindset of like, wow, we are creators. We are builders. We actually make changes in people's lives. I remember the first time I realized that. I was playing at a bar and I was still kind of getting used to that. Like 2017, I really wasn't doing bars. Like, mind you, a year before that, I was in a
Christian rap stuff.
Yeah, I was in a Christian band. And someone walked up to me after I played a song called Wretched Man, which is, well, I almost plugged, but and he walked up to me and he said, I just lost my job today. And I came in here to get a drink. And when you played that song, I realized like it might be a blessing in disguise that I don't have a job right now because I haven't really seen my family in 19 months. And I was like, wow. And he's like, so I'm going to go home and I'm going to hug my kids. And I'm going to tell my wife I love her. And I'm going to figure this thing out.
Ay caramba.
But it's like that music, what we did had that kind of effect. We don't always get to hear those stories, but when you have that moment to connect, don't take that shit for granted.
Yeah.
Because you could be the reason that someone has a great night, or you could be the reason they have a shitty night.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because if you went and you spent $10 to go get some pizza and some beer and listen to a band, and like the band sucks, well, now your pizza sucks.
Yeah.
The beer's not getting you drunk enough.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not drunk enough to deal with this shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always want to be cognizant of that, and we try to always remember that, and that's why I love the group that I play with, because we have that understanding.
Hell yeah.
That this is a gift. Yes, it took time to learn how to play our instruments and to use our voices, but it didn't feel like it took time because we love doing it and we got better at it. And we've reached the point where we can affect people's lives and actually be the change that we wanted to see when we were in middle school and high school and college and things like that. We can, in 5 minutes, tell someone a beautiful love story and they can remember what love is. And it gets deep, but I'm sorry, segueing, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Our album is called Life, Love, and the Thoughts Thereafter. It is a 17-track project that we wanted to kind of really show and talk about like what life, love, and the thoughts thereafter are. And I'm excited to share it because so much has happened that has made us as human beings vulnerable. You know, we've lost people that we didn't think that we'd lose. Jobs have been lost. Government has betrayed us over and over again. You know, for some people, our pillars have fallen from under us. The things that, you know, we based our lives on.
Yeah.
And so being able to have a project that helps people to reflect on those beautiful things. I have a song on there called Got You, where I talk about a really close friend of mine named Andrew Bruner, Mr. Uglyface, who passed away last year. And in that song, it's so healing to be able to talk about it because the way that he left was unexpected.
Yeah.
You know, he took his own life.
Okay.
So wanting to use the art to talk about that, to express that, because what is life? What is love? What are the thoughts thereafter? What's going to happen? You know, do we know, like, today I'm doing music, tomorrow, what could happen? But to really cherish all these moments, no matter where you are, no matter where you're from, no matter your background, to be unity and to be connected, to talk about mental health. You know, it's just something that we don't speak about in the African American community as often as we should. To talk about abuse, you know, and not so much air out the laundry, but start to get healing, because that's what we need. You know, I think that slightly going back to the conversation of rock and roll, Blackrock, and that, if we started to work on the healing that's in our music and build from that and the connectivity and stopped, you know, slicing it up because we feel like that's what we have to do to make it a business. You have to categorize it.
Yeah.
Well, what makes more money than unity? Barack Obama preached unity and became president because for the first time in a long time, we had someone that represented it. So what makes more money than unity? What makes more money than connection? Every show that we've produced, I've always made sure I had a different genre of music so that we can have a different scale of people that are in the audience so they can experience one another.
Yeah.
We stay in our bubbles and we start, you know, killing each other and hurting each other because we're so frustrated because we are not expanding and expressing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
No, the whole bubble thing is a whole nother can of worms that I could Kanye rant about if I damn well wanted to. But
16 hours later.
Yeah, I don't want to go down that wormhole
next time.
But yeah, it's, you know, ultimately I just think that, you know, what makes a community great, not a music community, but a community in general, is like, oh, like that person has a dope house and they're taking care of their yard, and oh, cool, there's that I like what that person's doing over there. Every house is different. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like every band. If you're in a community where every house looks the same, you feel kind of weird, right?
Right.
It's like, you know, oh, like there's no real like culture understanding here. Everything is the same. It's cookie cutter, and it's all like a planned neighborhood, right? Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, oh, this is like something weird out of like one of those creepy movies where somebody gets killed, right? Like,
right. I don't want to be here.
I don't want to be here. Like, you know, I like, oh, okay, sure. You know, like some things are a little bit, you know, some things are nicer than others, but as a whole, it makes the community a great thing.
Right.
So I always try to like look at like the music community as like an actual community, and, you know, neighborhoods as like, you know, like, or like streets is like different little genres, and every house on that street, and like, you know, the idea of a block party is like what a show, like, I don't know, it's this whole, you can take the analogy like really so many deep, but I think it makes a lot of sense. And without going down that wormhole of things, you get what I'm saying. I'm really good at repeating myself over and over again. I think that the train is rounding the station here in terms of our conversation. We could easily do this for another hour, and you're more than welcome to come back anytime.
Appreciate
Be happy
it.
to have you back on. But before we pull the plug on this, before we let our listeners go about their day, what do you want them to know that they may not already know?
Well, how you doing? What's up? This is the Royce cam right here. We about to have a conversation, audience. What you may not know is that we are working on our debut album, Life, Love, and the Thoughts Thereafter. It is going to be a great project. We're looking to try to drop it in October, but you know how those things go. So we're trying to get all of our eggs in a basket. Right now, we don't have any shows going on, but we're working on music videos. Also, please follow us. That's, Facebook is Royce. You don't know.
just look up Royce on
Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
Yep. Instagram is Royce Official. Facebook is Royce Official PGH. So it has been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I like talking to them. They're cool.
And I guess that's about it. We did
yes,
it.
Sir.
Cool.
We did it.
So with that being said, that is all, folks. Thanks so much for being here. One more time. Royce, thank you. Yeah. I'll be back again next week with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the beat. 2021. Whoop, whoop. Thanks for listening. And we're done. That was a podcast. We made it happen.
It's good shit.
Hell yeah.